Hi there, welcome to this sewing tutorial where I'm going to show you how to sew the Sweet Dreams nightgown. This pattern is designed to create a flare, soft and feminine garment that can be dressed up with delicate trims or just keep it simple for everyday wear. The pattern features a gentle ruffle along the top, optional decorative trims, a top elastic channel that provides gentle shaping without restricting the stretch, patch pockets, and adjustable straps. Keep in mind that a good amount of ease has been included on the original body measurements to achieve the relaxed and flare fit of this pattern. But any adjustments for length or width can be made as needed for personal comfort. As a reference, I'm on the petite side, so I ended up shortening the original length of the pattern by 4 inches to better suit my proportions. So feel free to make similar modifications to achieve your ideal fit. In terms of the skill level, this pattern is suitable for beginners to intermediate sewers. While the techniques are straightforward, some steps will require more attention to detail. And with this being said, let's go over the materials you will need to bring this pattern to life. First, your main fabric. For this pattern, soft, lightweight, and drapery fabrics work best to create the comfortable, flowing, and feminine silhouette. Ideal fabric qualities include breathable, smooth, and slightly fluid, with a gentle hand feel against the skin. Since the pattern is designed for woven fabrics, if you choose a fabric with a stretch, the fit will be slightly looser than intended, so consider this when selecting your size and fabric. Next, fusible interfacing. Optionally, you can add it to the straps and pocket to add extra structure and stability. The interfacing should be thin and flexible so it supports the straps without adding bulk and keeping them comfortable and smooth. You will also need a 1-inch wide elastic band. The amount of elastic needed may vary depending on how stretched or firm your elastic band is. On the handbook, you will find a suggested measurements per size, but for the best fit, measure the elastic directly on your body, wrap it around the area where it will sit and adjust it until it feels snug but comfortable, and use the measurements as your final elastic length. Next, your regular sewing thread, a 1-inch wide cross grain ribbon for the bow details, the decorative trim of your preference. It can be lace trim, red rag, the one that I'm going to be using, narrow or wider, satin or gross grain ribbon, or even a braided trim. And finally, your PDF sewing pattern that you will find linked below in the description box. It is available in US sizes from extra small to extra large and also comes in layers so you can print all the sizes at once or just your desired size. To begin, iron your fabric with enough steam to pre-shrink it, and then place and cut your patterns following the instructions listed on them. Since the seam allowance is included, simple cut along the outer edge of the paper, and don't forget to transfer all markings before removing the patterns from the fabric. After cutting, you will have 2 body pieces in self fabric, 4 pocket pieces in self fabric and optionally infused, and 4 straps in fabric and optionally 4 straps as well infused. Let's start the construction process working on the pockets. To do so, place both pocket pieces right sides together and sew around the edges using 1/4 inch of seam allowance. Leave a small opening unstitched as the turning gap. Trim excess fabric, especially at the bottom point of the heart, and clip around the curved areas and the center to release tension. Turn the pocket right side out through the opening and gently push out the corners and curves. Then just press the pocket to set its shape. Repeat the same process with the second pocket as well. The unstitched opening will be fully closed when the pocket is edge-stitched to the body. Next, if you wish to add the decorative trim detail, position it following the placement markings provided in the pattern. Normally, I like to leave at least 1/2 inch extra before starting to clean the trim when I finish. Once it's aligned, secure it in place by top stitching along the edges. If you want to have more control, base the trim first to prevent shifting. For this sample, I'm using a rig-rag trim, and for this type of trim, a zigzag stitch offers a better hold and flexibility. When you reach the opposite end, fold one end of the trim over the other, tucking the raw edges inside to create a clean finish. Depending on your material, you may also choose to simple stitch the ends together for a less bulky result. And once the trim is attached, the pockets will look something similar to this. And now we are prepared to attach them to the front piece. To do so, follow the placement indicated on the patterns and position the pockets on the right side of the front body. Once aligned, edge stitch around the pocket, sewing only between the notches that you have listed on the pattern to secure it in place. To continue, place the trim on the right side of the front piece, following the placement markings suggested in the pattern. Once positioned, top stitch along the trim to secure it. For more control, you can baste your trim before stitching. Repeat the same procedure on the back body piece as well. Remember that this step is completely optional because you can make the gown without these additional decorative details. To continue with right size facing, align the front and back body pieces and sew them on the side seams using half an inch of seam allowance, making sure the trims meet perfectly at the seam for a clean continuous look. Serge the edges to neaten and then press the seams first flat to set the stitches and then towards the back for a smooth finish. Next, let's create the elastic channel and the ruff. To do so, start by serging the top edge to neaten. Then fold the top edge down by 2 3/4 inches following the folding line indicated in the pattern and press it with your iron to set a clean crease. To create the ruffle effect, top stitch 1 1/4 inch from the folded top edge around the whole piece. Once the ruffle is formed, stitch again 1 1/4 below that previous stitching line to form the elastic channel. This measure allows the elastic to fit comfortably, not too tight and not too loose. Leave a small opening unstitched to insert the elastic, and using a safety pin or a bobbin pin, guide the elastic through the channel. When both ends of the elastic meet, overlap them and secure it with a zigzag stitch. Close the opening carefully, stretching the elastic as you sew and making sure you don't catch the elastic in the stitching. Optionally, apply a lightweight fusible interfacing to the wrong side of each strap piece and trim any excess if needed. Fold each strap lengthwise with right sides together and stitch along the long raw edge using 1/4 inch of seam allowance. Turn the strap right side out with a turning loop and press it, positioning the seam at the center back. To clean the raw edges, fold each end in by 1/4 or 3/8 of an inch maximum and press it to hold it in place. If desired, you can add a decorative trim along the straps at this stage. Then edge stitch along both short ends and repeat this process for all the 4 straps. Now fold the top edge of the garment in half to find the center front and center back. Then fold each half in half again. These quarter points represent the strap measurement and correspond to the quarter of the total top measurement. Ensuring the straps are positioned evenly and comfortably, mark these points, as this is where the straps will be attached. Place each strap on the inside, it means the wrong side of the fabric, slightly below the ruffle stitching line, like the first stitching line that we did when we start creating the channel. Pin it or secure it in place and try on the garment to confirm the strap placement feels right for you. Once everything looks correct and feels comfortable, stitch the straps in place from the right side, sewing directly over the existing ruffle stitching line carefully stretching the elastic as you sew and making sure you don't catch the elastic in the stitching. Optionally, you can run a second row of stitching close to the edge of the ruffle to secure the straps even better, adding durability and helping them stay perfectly in place over time. To continue, search the bottom edge to knit end. Then fold it up by 2 inches towards the wrong side of the fabric and press it to create a clean crease. I strongly recommend that if you're using rayon or other drapery fabrics, you let the garment hang for a few hours before hemming because they might stretch slightly. Then stitch close to the serged edge to secure the hem. If desired, you can cover the hem stitching with a decorative trim. To do this, use the hem stitching line as your placement guide. Begin applying the trim at one of the side seams, leaving about half an inch of extra trim and the starting point, at keeping the first 1 inch unsewn so you have room to clean the edges later. Continue attaching the trim around the hem, ensuring the stitching stays hidden. When you reach the other side seam, also leave an extra half an inch for seam allowance. Place the trim ends right sides together and sew them using half an inch of seam allowance. Then trim any excess to reduce bulk. Align the trim's seam with the gown's side seam and finish attaching the remaining section of trim to complete the hem. Next, take your gross-grain ribbon and carefully melt the edges with a lighter to prevent fraying. Fold the ribbon in half to find the center point. You can use your iron and pre-crease it or just mark the center line. And then place it at the center front of the garment, right at the elastic channel. Sew the ribbon in place, making sure to gently stretch the elastic as you stitch so the seam will not restrict the stretch once the garment is worn. Finally, tie the ribbon into a neat bow to complete the look. If you would like to decorate the pockets as well, take the 2 remaining cross-grain ribbons and tie each ribbon into a neat bow using the technique of your preference. Place them on the pockets following the suggested placement marked on the pattern and attach each bow by hand using small secure stitches, passing the needle through the underside of the bow and into the pocket fabric, catching just enough layers to hold it firmly without the stitches showing from the right side. Once the bows are held in place, secure the threads with a small knot and hide the thread tail by guiding your needle through the fabric layers before trimming. To finish, give your garment a gently overall press, and just like that, your nightgown is ready. I truly hope you enjoy sewing along with me as much as I did. If you have any questions or suggestions, please feel free to leave them in the comments. I love hearing from you. And if you make this project, please tag me on social media because it genuinely makes my day to see your beautiful creations coming to life. Thank you so much again for spending this time with me, and I will see you pretty soon in the next video. Bye!